Chapter 1. A Hard Marriage. Cora was 67 years old. She lived in a small city in the United States. She had 3 children. People saw her as a quiet old woman, but inside her heart, there was a long story of pain. Cora's life changed the day she got married. She was only 20 when her parents arranged her marriage. At that time, she had big dreams. She wanted love, care, and a happy family. But life gave her something else. Her husband, Mark, was a man who believed more in power than in love. He worked in an office, but when he came home, he did not bring peace. He brought orders. In the first year of marriage, Cora understood that her smile had no value in front of him. He was strict, serious, and often cold. If dinner was late, he shouted. If the house was not clean, he complained. If she tried to talk about her feelings, he ignored her. Once she said softly, "I just want you to hold my hand." He looked at her and said, "Life is not a movie. Stop talking like a child." Those words cut her deeply. Cora had no choice. She gave herself to her role as a wife and later as a mother. When her first child was born, she thought maybe things would change. She held the baby close and told her husband, "Look, our son. He is our joy." But Mark only nodded and said, "Children mean more responsibility. Be ready." There was no excitement, no smile. Still, Cora kept going. She cooked, she cleaned, she stayed up at night when her babies cried. She gave all her energy to her family, but the love she gave was not returned. Many nights she cried silently on her pillow. She whispered, "God, I am trying. Please make my life better." Years passed. Cora became the backbone of the house. She carried every burden. Her husband worked, but he never thanked her for her hard work. On weekends, instead of spending time with her, he read the newspaper or went out with friends. She sat alone with her children, telling them stories to fill the silence. Her children loved her, but they could not see her pain. They were too young. They thought their father was just serious. Only Cora knew how heavy his silence was. Sometimes he even said cruel words. Once, when she was sick and could not cook, he said, "A wife who cannot cook is useless." She sat with tears in her eyes, but still dragged herself to the kitchen. Cora was not weak, but she was trapped. Divorce was not an option for her in those days. She thought of her children. She thought, "I cannot break this home." They need both parents, so she carried the weight. She became strong outside, but inside she was breaking. One day, after a long fight, she sat in the dark and whispered, "Why do I feel like a prisoner in my own home?" She wanted to scream, but she stayed silent. That silence became her habit. Years turned into decades. Her children grew, but her husband never changed. He gave money for the house, but never gave love. Sometimes at night, when she looked at him sleeping beside her, she felt like a stranger was in her bed. She asked herself, "When did I stop being a wife and become only a servant?" The only moments of happiness she found were with her children. When they hugged her, when they laughed, when they said, "Mom, you are the best," her heart felt alive. But even then, her husband would complain, "Don't spoil them. Don't make them soft." The years of coldness built a wall inside her. She dreamed of simple things, a kind word, a gentle hand, someone to say, "I love you." But those dreams stayed dreams. Then came the day that changed everything. Mark, her husband, had a heart attack. She rushed him to the hospital. She held his hand, even after all the pain he gave her. She whispered, Don't leave. We still have a family." But his eyes closed, and he never opened them again. That night, sitting in the hospital chair, Cora cried. She cried not only for his death, but also for her wasted years. She said in a low voice, "I gave you my life, and you never gave me love." She covered her face and wept. The nurse touched her shoulder, but she could not stop crying. When she returned home, the house was silent. The children were there for a few days, but soon they left. Everyone told her, "You are free now. You can rest." But inside, she felt empty. She asked herself, "Is this freedom? Or is this another kind of prison?" Her heart was heavy with years of loneliness. She wanted someone who could fill the silence. She wanted someone who could see her not as a servant, not as a duty, but as a woman with feelings. Cora's journey was not over. Her husband's death was the end of one story, but also the start of another. She did not know it yet, but her heart was ready to ask for something new, something she had never received in her whole life. "Maybe it is not too late," she whispered one night. "Maybe I still deserve love." Like, subscribe, and share. Read this story and many more on our website www.bookisenglish.com. Link in the description. Chapter 2. Life After Death. Cora came back home after the hospital. Her husband was gone. The room felt too quiet, but the quiet did not bring peace. It brought only heavy thoughts. She sat on the edge of her bed and whispered to herself, "He is gone. What is left for me now?" The children stayed with her for a few days. They said all the right words. They said, "Mother, you must be strong. You must take care of yourself." But they were busy in their own lives. After a short time, they left one by one. The house felt more empty than ever before. At night, Cora walked slowly through the house. She looked at the chair where her husband used to sit. She thought about his last hours. She remembered holding his hand in the hospital. His eyes had closed forever. She had whispered, "Please don't go." But he had left her anyway. Tears came to her eyes again. She said, "Even when you were here, I was alone. And now, I am truly alone." The first weeks after his death were hard. People from the neighborhood came to visit her. They said, "We are sorry for your loss." But when they left, no one stayed. She had to eat alone. She had to sleep alone. She had to face the silence every day. One evening, she made herself a cup of tea. She sat down at the table and saw only one cup. She remembered the early years of her marriage. She remembered how she had once dreamed that marriage would mean two people sharing life. But her dream had never come true. Now, even the cup on the table looked like proof of her loneliness. Her body felt weak. She had worked hard for years. Now she felt the cost of that work. Her back hurt when she bent down. Her hands shook when she tried to hold small things. She whispered to herself, "I am tired." But no one sees it. Her children called sometimes. They asked, "Mother, are you fine?" She always answered, "Yes, I am fine." But it was a lie. Inside, she wanted to cry out, "No, I am not fine. I need you. I need someone." But she did not say it. She did not want to disturb them. On her next birthday, the phone never rang. The day passed like any other day. She sat with a small piece of bread in front of her. She put a candle on it. She whispered, "Happy birthday, Cora." She closed her eyes and wished for only one thing, not to feel so alone. Tears fell as she blew out the candle. Sometimes she spoke to her husband's picture. She said, "You gave me children, but you never gave me love. I gave you all my years, and you left me empty." She cried as she touched the frame. Why did I spend so many years waiting for care that never came? Loneliness grew heavy. Every night she lay down on her bed, but she could not sleep. She thought of her children. She thought, "They love me, but they do not see me. They live their lives, and I am just an old woman in the background." Her heart ached more than her body. Cora tried to distract herself with small work. She cleaned, she cooked, she washed clothes, but every action felt empty. She said to herself, "I do these things, but for whom? No one thanks me. No one shares with me." One night, she held her chest and whispered, "I wish someone would sit beside me and ask how I feel. I wish someone would hold my hand." Even for a moment, her voice broke with tears. She wiped her face with the edge of her sleeve, but the tears kept coming. Her life after death was not freedom. It was not peace. It was another kind of prison, one made of silence. Every day she carried the weight of emptiness. Every night she asked herself, "Will I live like this until my last breath?" She wanted to believe in hope, but it was far away. Still, deep inside, a small voice spoke. It said, "You are alive. You still have a heart. You still need love." She pushed the thought away many times, but it always returned. Her journey was not finished. This was only the beginning of a new chapter in her life. Like, subscribe and share. Read this story and many more on our website www.bookisenglish.com. Link in the description. Chapter 3. Children Without Time. Cora's husband was gone. The days after his death felt endless. She tried to keep herself strong. She told herself, "At least I have my children. They will stand with me." That thought gave her hope. But life did not give her what she expected. Her first son, Michael, called her one evening. He said, "Mother, I am very busy. Work takes all my time. I cannot come often. Please take care of yourself." His voice was fast, almost rushed. Cora wanted to tell him, "I do not need money. I only need your time." But she stayed quiet. She only said, "Yes, I understand." When the call ended, she sat with the phone in her hand and whispered, "You are my child. Why do you sound like a stranger?" Her second son, David, came to visit once after the funeral. He stayed for only one night. At breakfast, she tried to speak. She said, "Son, I feel so empty. Can you come sometimes? Can you sit with me?" David looked at his watch and said, "Mother, my business is growing. I cannot waste time. You are strong. You will manage." She forced a smile. When he left, she closed the door and cried. She said to herself, "I am strong, but does that mean I should suffer alone?" Her daughter, Anna, lived with her own family. She called once a week. She always said, "Mother, I have children to raise. My husband needs me. I cannot be with you." Cora listened quietly. She wanted to shout, "I raised you. I gave you years. Can you not give me even one day?" But she never said it. She only said, "I am happy you are fine." After the call, she sat at the table and whispered, "You have your family. But am I no longer part of it?" The truth was clear. All three of her children were busy. They loved her in words but not in actions. They spoke of duty but gave no care. Each one thought the other would take responsibility. But in the end, no one stayed. One evening, Cora decided to invite them all for dinner. She thought, maybe if I cook for them, they will see my heart. She spent the whole day preparing their favorite dishes. Her hands shook, but she kept working. She told herself, they will sit with me. They will listen. Tonight will be different when they arrived. She welcomed them with a smile. She placed the food on the table. She said gently, sit down, my children. Let us eat together. I want to talk to you. For a moment, she felt hope. But things did not go as she dreamed. Michael looked at his phone while eating. David spoke only about his business deals. Anna told stories about her children, but never asked about her mother. Cora sat silently, waiting for someone to ask her how she was. No one did. Finally, she spoke. Her voice trembled. She said, my children, I am alone. I am old. I need care. Can you stay with me sometimes? Can you make me feel that I am not forgotten? Michael sighed. He said, Mother, do not be childish. You are not alone. You have us, even if we cannot be here every day. David added, we cannot sit at home. We must work. We must earn. Society will laugh if we waste our time. Anna looked at her mother and said, if you live with me, my husband will not like it. It is better that you stay where you are. Cora's eyes filled with tears. She whispered, do you not see me? Do you not see that I am breaking? David pushed the plate away. He stood up and said, Mother, stop talking like this. You have lived your life. Now let us live ours. His words cut her heart. She tried again. She said, I do not ask for money. I do not ask for gifts. I only ask for love. I only ask for your time. But Michael stood up too. He said coldly, we do not have time. We cannot sit with you every day. Cora reached for Anna's hand. She said softly, you are my daughter. Do you not want to take care of me, even for a little while? Anna pulled her hand back and said, I have my own family. I cannot give you what you want. The silence in the room was heavy. Cora felt her chest tighten. She whispered, after all I gave, is this what I receive? Then something happened that broke her heart even more. David, in his anger, raised his hand. He slapped her lightly and said, stop speaking like this, Mother. You are making us feel guilty. The sound of that slap echoed in her ears. She touched her face, not from pain, but from shock. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She whispered, my own child has hit me. The children left soon after. They said, we are busy. We cannot hear this again and again. They walked out, leaving her with the food still on the table. Cora sat alone. She looked at the plates filled with food. She whispered, I cooked for you. I waited for you. And you left me. She put her head on the table and cried like a child. That night, she lay awake. She said to herself, I gave them my youth. I gave them my health. I gave them my love. And now they give me nothing. Not even respect. Her heart felt heavy, as if it would break. She knew one thing. Her children had no time for her. They had no eyes for her pain. She said aloud in the dark, if my own children cannot see me, who will? Her voice shook with tears. She hugged herself and whispered, I am still alive. I am still human. I still need love. Her life was changing. She could feel it. The emptiness inside her was growing too strong to hide. She did not know it yet, but soon her heart would find a new path. Like, subscribe, and share. Read this story and many more on our website www.bookisenglish.com. Link in the description. Chapter 4. The Old Job. Cora's life after the dinner with her children was harder than before. She had begged them for time. She had begged them for care. But they had turned away. They had left her with cold food on the table and tears on her face. That night she cried until her eyes were swollen. When she woke in the morning, she felt heavy in her chest. She whispered to herself, "I cannot depend on them. I must depend on myself." Money was short. Her husband had not left much behind. The children did not send help. They said they had their own expenses. Cora counted the bills again and again. She whispered, "If I do not work, I cannot live." She was 67, but she had no choice. She went out and found a small job in a local store. The first days at the store were painful. She had not worked outside for many years. Her back ached when she stood too long. Her hands shook when she tried to carry heavy boxes. But she forced herself. She told herself, "Do not stop. You must survive." Customers came and went. Some were polite, but many did not even look at her. They treated her like she was invisible. Once, when she dropped a small item by mistake, a young man said, "Old people should not work. They are too slow." His words cut her deeply. She bent down with shaking hands, picked up the item and whispered, "I am trying my best." Her body was not strong, but her will was. She told herself every day, "I will not give up." Still, when she returned home each night, her body cried in pain. She pressed her back with her hands and whispered, "How long can I carry this weight alone?" One afternoon, while lifting a box, she felt dizzy. Her head spun, and she fell on the floor. The manager rushed to her side. He said, "Sit down, Cora. You should not push yourself so hard." She smiled weakly and said, "I am fine. I just need a minute." But when she was alone, tears slipped down her face. She whispered, "I am not fine. I am breaking." That was the day she first noticed Daniel. He was a man of 55 who also worked in the store. He came quietly and helped her to a chair. He gave her a bottle of water and said, "You must rest. You should not do this alone." She looked at him with tired eyes. She whispered, "I have no one else. I must work. No one will take care of me." Daniel nodded. He did not say many words that day, but his eyes showed kindness. It was something she had not seen in a long time. In the following days, he started helping her with small things. If he saw her carrying heavy items, he came and said, "Let me do it. You should not hurt yourself." If he saw her sitting tired, he brought her a cup of tea. At first, she felt shy. She said, "You do not need to do this." But he replied softly, "It is not about need. It is about care." Those words stayed in her heart. She repeated them to herself at night. She whispered, "It is about care." She had lived many years without hearing such simple kindness. One day, when her hands were shaking, she dropped a bag on the floor. She bent to pick it up, but Daniel reached first. He smiled and said, "I told you, you should leave the heavy work for me." She laughed softly, a sound she had almost forgotten. She said, "I used to think no one would care for me again." Daniel looked at her with gentle eyes and said, "You are wrong. Everyone deserves care." That night, lying in bed, she thought of his words. She whispered, "Do I really deserve care? Do I really deserve love?" For the first time in many years, she felt a small light in her heart. The job was still hard. The hours were long. The pain in her body was real. But now, when Daniel was near, it felt less heavy. Once, when she dropped a box, she laughed and said, "I am not good at this." Daniel laughed too and said, "You are stronger than you think." She smiled and whispered, "Maybe you are right." Slowly, something changed inside her. She still cried at night, but her tears were fewer. She still felt lonely, but now she had a reason to wake up in the morning. She told herself, "He sees me. He sees that I am alive." One afternoon, during a short break, Daniel gave her a scarf. He said, "Winter is coming. Please keep this with you." She held the scarf in her hands and whispered, "No one has given me a gift in years." Her eyes filled with tears. He said softly, "It is just a scarf. But I wanted you to feel warm." She smiled and said, "It is not just a scarf. It is kindness." I had forgotten what that feels like. Cora began to look forward to work. She was still tired, still weak, but her heart was lighter. She started to believe that maybe her life was not finished yet. Maybe she still had a chance to feel loved. The old job, which once felt like punishment, had now given her something unexpected. It had given her a new friend. It had given her Daniel. She did not know where this road would take her, but for the first time, she was ready to walk it. Like, subscribe, and share. Read this story and many more on our website www.bookisenglish.com. Link in the description. Chapter 5. A Friend Who Cares. Cora had worked in the store for some weeks. Her body was still weak, but her heart felt different now. Daniel was there. He had become part of her daily life. His presence was simple, but it gave her strength. One afternoon, during their short break, Daniel sat beside her. He looked at his hands for a moment, and then said softly, "I was married too. My wife's name was Linda. She was sick for a long time. She died of cancer. I thought my life was finished after she left." His voice was low and heavy. Cora listened quietly. She placed her hand on the table and said, "I am sorry. I know what loneliness feels like. It eats you from inside." Her eyes filled with tears. Daniel nodded. "When she died, people said, 'Be strong.' But strength is not enough when your house is empty. No one hears your voice. No one asks if you have eaten. You live, but you feel half dead." Cora whispered, "Yes. That is exactly how I feel. My children love me, but they do not see me. I talk, but they do not listen." For a moment, both were silent. Two broken souls sitting together. Then Daniel said, "Maybe God wanted us to meet. Maybe we are here to remind each other that we are still alive." Those words touched Cora's heart. She whispered, "I had almost forgotten that I am still alive." "You remind me days past." Their friendship grew. Daniel started waiting for her when her shift ended. Sometimes he walked with her a short distance. They spoke about small things. They spoke about their past. They laughed at little mistakes. For Cora, even these small moments felt like treasures. One evening, she said to him, "It has been years since I laughed like this." "Thank you." Daniel smiled gently and said, "It has been years since I made someone laugh. Thank you too." Once, they sat in the park after work. They watched children play with ice cream in their hands. Daniel got up and bought 2 cones. He gave one to her. She looked at it and laughed. "I have not eaten ice cream with someone for 30 years, she said. He looked at her with kind eyes and said, "Then today, 30 years end. Eat." She took a bite, and for a moment, she felt like a girl again. She whispered, "I feel silly, but happy." He replied softly, "Happiness is never silly." That night, when she lay in bed, she touched her lips and smiled. She whispered, "He gave me ice cream." Such a small thing, but it made me feel alive. Tears came, but they were not only of pain, they were of hope. As days passed, Cora started to look different. She smiled more. She stood straighter. People noticed. One co-worker said, "You look better these days." Cora smiled and said, "Maybe I feel lighter." Daniel also noticed. He told her once, "You have a glow now. You look like someone who has found her heart again." She laughed and said, "I'm still the same old woman." He shook his head and said, "No, you are not just an old woman. You are Cora. You are a woman with feelings." Never forget that those words broke something inside her. She had waited all her life to be seen that way. She whispered, "Thank you for saying that. No one has spoken to me like this in years." Still, Cora's mind was not free from fear. She thought about her children. She thought about society. One day she said to Daniel, "People will laugh if they see us together. They will say, 'Look at that old woman still dreaming.' I do not want to be a joke." Daniel looked at her with steady eyes. "Do not live for people. They will always speak. Live for yourself. Live for your heart. You are not dead yet. Why should you act like you are?" She felt tears in her eyes again. She whispered, "I want to believe you." "But I am afraid." He leaned closer and said gently, "Do not be afraid. You have already lived through pain. What more can they do to you? You deserve love. You deserve care." That night, she sat by the window and thought about his words. She whispered, "Do I really deserve love? Even at this age?" Then she remembered his voice saying, "You are not just an old woman. You are Cora." She placed her hand on her chest and said, "Yes, I am still Cora. I still have a heart." From that day, she stopped feeling shame for her needs. She still carried fear, but now there was also courage. She wanted to see where this path with Daniel could lead. For the first time in her long life, she felt that someone truly cared. He was not her husband, not her child, not her duty. He was simply a friend who saw her as a woman, and that made all the difference. Like, subscribe, and share. Read this story and many more on our website www.bookisenglish.com. Link in the description. Chapter 6. The Storm at Home. Cora's heart was changing. Daniel's words had touched her deeply. For the first time, she believed she was more than just a lonely old woman. She believed she still had worth. She believed she still had feelings. But she also knew her children would never accept it easily. For many nights, she thought about it. She sat with her hands folded and whispered, "How will they see me if they know about him? Will they hate me? Will they call me selfish?" Fear filled her, but so did courage. One evening, she decided, she would tell them. She could not live in lies. She invited her 3 children to her house. She cooked a simple meal. Her heart beat fast as she waited. When they arrived, they sat at the table. At first, the talk was normal. They asked about bills, about her health, about small things, but Cora knew she had to speak. She took a deep breath. Her voice shook. "My children, I want to tell you something. There is a man in my life. His name is Daniel. He is kind to me. He respects me. He makes me feel alive again. I want you to know this, because I am thinking about my future. I am thinking about marriage. The room froze. Michael slammed his hand on the table. Mother, what are you saying? You are 67. Marriage? At this age? David's face turned red. He shouted, Are you not ashamed? People will laugh at us. They will say, Look at those children. Their old mother has married again. Do you want to ruin our name? Anna looked at her mother with wide eyes. Mother, how can you even think of this? You have us. Why do you need someone else? Cora's eyes filled with tears. She spoke softly. I have you, yes. But you do not stay with me. You do not sit with me. You do not see my pain. Daniel is not taking your place. He is giving me what I never had. Respect, care, company. Michael stood up. His voice was cold. You are acting like a teenager. This is not love. This is madness. Cora cried and said, No, this is not madness. This is my heart speaking. I am not dead yet. I still feel. I still need. David pushed his chair back hard. If you do this, we will cut ties. We will never speak to you again. Do you hear me? Cora's hands shook. She whispered, How can you be so cruel to your own mother? I gave you my life. Do I not deserve a little happiness? Anna stood up too. You will embarrass us. People will point at us. They will say we are children of a shameless woman. The storm in the room grew louder. Michael shouted again, Stop this nonsense now. You cannot marry him. We forbid it. Cora felt her heart break. She placed her hand on her chest and said, You forbid me? Am I your child, or are you mine? Who gave you the right to decide my life? For a moment, there was silence. Then David's anger exploded. He picked up a photo frame from the table, the photo of their family with their late father. He threw it on the floor. The glass shattered into pieces. He shouted, You are spitting on father's memory. How dare you think of another man? Cora bent down slowly and picked up the broken frame. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She whispered, Your father never gave me love. He gave me years of silence. Is it wrong that I want something different now? Her children turned away. They said together, If you marry him, you will lose us. They left, slamming the door. Cora sat on the floor with the broken photo in her lap. She cried loudly, words escaping her lips. Why do you not see me as human? Why do you see me only as a role, as a mother, as a widow? Why can you not see me as Cora? That night Daniel came to see her. He found her sitting with the broken photo. He asked gently, What happened? She told him everything. She told him about their anger, about the broken frame, about their threats. She cried, They hate me. They think I am dirty for wanting love. They say I am killing their father's memory. Daniel held her hands. His voice was calm, but strong. Listen to me. You are not dirty. You are not wrong. You are human. You have a heart. You deserve love. If your children cannot see it now, one day they will. But do not throw away your chance at happiness because of their blindness. Cora shook her head. But they are my children. I cannot lose them. Daniel pressed her hands gently. And if you lose yourself? If you die inside while you are still alive, will that make them happy? Do not let them take away your right to live. She cried into his hands. I am so afraid. He whispered, Do not be afraid. I will stand with you. Always. That night, Cora lay in bed. She could not sleep. Her heart was full of fear and pain, but also a strange kind of strength. She whispered to herself, "Maybe I cannot stop the storm, but maybe I can survive it." The storm at home had begun. But inside that storm, a small voice of courage had started to rise. Chapter 7. A Brave Step. Cora could not forget the night of the storm. The broken photo, the angry words, the threats of her children, all of it was still fresh in her heart. She felt weak, but at the same time, something inside her had begun to change. She whispered to herself, "I cannot live like this forever. I must decide." For many nights, she lay awake. She thought of her past. She thought of her years as a wife. She remembered how her late husband never gave her love. She remembered how she gave her life to her children, but in return, they gave her only distance. She cried and said to herself, "I was never loved. I was never cared for. If I do not take this step now, I will die without ever knowing what love feels like." Daniel noticed her silence. One evening he sat with her. He looked into her eyes and said, "Cora, you are thinking too much. Tell me what is in your heart." She broke down in tears. "They will never forgive me if I marry you. They will turn their faces away. They will leave me." Daniel held her hand. His voice was calm. "They have already left you, Cora. They left you in your pain. They left you in your loneliness. You are still afraid to lose them, but they were never here." Her tears fell on her hands. She whispered, "I want to be brave. I want to say yes to life, but fear holds me back." Daniel spoke slowly, every word full of care. "Do not let fear win. You are stronger than you think. Look at me. I will not leave you. If you choose me, I will stand beside you." Always his words gave her courage. That night, she sat alone and spoke aloud, as if to herself, "Cora, you have been silent for too long. You have waited for too long. Now is the time to live. You deserve this. Do not let anyone take it from you." The next morning, she looked at herself in the mirror. Her face showed lines of age, but her eyes had a new light. She whispered, "Yes, I want new husband. I want Daniel." When she told him, his eyes filled with relief. He said softly, "You have made me the happiest man. Thank you for trusting me." She smiled with tears and said, "No, Daniel. Thank you for seeing me as a woman, not just a mother, not just an old widow. Thank you for giving me back my heart." The days after her decision were not easy. Her children tried again to stop her. Michael came to her and said, "Mother, please think. You will lose respect. Do not do this." She replied gently, "Respect is not given by society. Respect is given by love. I have lived without it too long." David shouted at her again, "If you marry him, I will never call you my mother again." She looked at him with pain in her eyes and whispered, "Then you never truly were my son." A true son does not take away his mother's right to live. Anna cried and said, "Mother, you are choosing him over us." Cora shook her head. "No, my child. I am not choosing him over you. I am choosing myself. For once, in all these years, I am choosing my own heart." Those words shocked them. They had never seen their mother speak so boldly. They left angry, but inside her, Cora felt strong. She whispered to herself, "I am not weak anymore. I am not afraid anymore." A week later, Cora packed her small things. She and Daniel decided to leave the city. They would go to a new place where no one would judge them. They would marry quietly, without noise, without fear. As she closed the door of her old house, she paused for a moment. She whispered, "I gave you everything, but now I give myself a chance." She walked away with Daniel, hand in hand. Their wedding was simple. No flowers, no crowd, just two people, broken by life but still brave enough to hope. When they exchanged vows, Cora's heart whispered, "At last." This is what it feels like to be seen. The storm was behind her. Ahead was a new life. She had taken the brave step. Like, subscribe, and share. Read this story and many more on our website www.bookisenglish.com. Link in the description. Chapter 8. Love Wins in the End. Cora and Daniel started their new life quietly. The wedding was simple, but it was full of meaning. Cora held Daniel's hand and thought, "This is the first time I feel chosen. The first time I feel seen." Her heart was lighter than it had been in many years. They began to live as partners. Their days were not perfect, but they were real. They cooked together. They laughed at small mistakes. They shared stories from their past. At night, Daniel read to her when her eyes were tired. She told him once, "I never thought I would know peace, but now I feel it." He kissed her hand and whispered, "You were always worthy of peace." For the first time in her life, Cora felt like a woman with value, not just a mother, not just a widow. She said softly one evening, "You gave me back something I thought was lost forever. You gave me respect." Daniel looked at her and replied, "Respect is the easiest gift to give. I wonder why others never gave it to you." Tears filled her eyes. She whispered, "Because they never saw me the way you do." News of her marriage reached her children. At first, they were full of anger. They did not speak to her. They told people, "Our mother has embarrassed us." But with time, the anger began to turn into silence, and silence turned into guilt. One neighbor told them, "Your mother looks happy now. We have not seen her smile like this in years." Those words shook them. They started to remember moments they had ignored. They remembered her lonely birthdays. They remembered her asking for time and them refusing. They remembered the night they left her crying at the table. Anna was the first to break. She came one afternoon, her eyes full of tears. She said, "Mother, I was wrong. I thought only of myself. I forgot you were human. Can you forgive me?" Cora hugged her tightly. "Yes, my child. I never stopped loving you." Michael came later. His voice was heavy. "Mother, I feared people's words more than your tears. I see now that I was blind." "I am sorry." She looked at him and said, "Respect is not in people's mouths. Respect is in the way you treat your mother." He cried and held her hands. Even David, who had been the harshest, returned. His head was low. His words broke with shame. "Mother, I hurt you. I hit you. I said things I can never take back. I do not deserve your love." Cora touched his face and whispered, "A son always deserves his mother's love, but he must also learn to give love back. Promise me you will never let fear and pride close your eyes again." He nodded with tears. That day, the house that had once been silent was full of voices again. Children, mother, and Daniel sat together. For the first time, there was no shouting, no anger. There was only peace. Cora looked around the room. Her heart was full. She thought, "This is what I wanted all along, not wealth, not gifts, only love, only respect." She smiled and said aloud, "Love wins in the end." Her children agreed. They now understood what they had refused to see for so long. Their mother was not only a mother, she was a woman with a heart. And that heart had finally found care. The story of Cora was not a story of shame. It was a story of courage. It was proof that even at 67, life can begin again. It was proof that love has no age, and that respect is the greatest gift a family can give. Like, subscribe, and share. Read this story and many more on our website, www.bookisenglish.com. Link in the description. The end.